Thank you for being a part of this session on crew mental health and well-being. We are Big Yellow Fish. I'm Captain Soma, co-founder, along with my co-founder Kunal Pancholi, presenting to you, and we sure hope to make this session as meaningful and value for your time. To begin with, let us understand a bit about what is the maritime industry and maritime shipping all about. Maritime industry has been one of the longest professions in the history of mankind. It is one of the oldest professions. In fact, every voyage a ship undertakes, as most of you would be knowing, is considered as a maritime or a shipping adventure. An adventure which involves participation of various parties ranging from cargo owners, charterers, ship owners, ship managers, insurers, underwriters, to name a few. Any adventure involves a risk, and this risk gets distributed across all participants of this adventure. This is very important for all of us to understand from a perspective of why understanding this risk and why understanding this maritime adventure a little bit more in deeper is very important for all of us. Because here is an important aspect of understanding the ship's crew comes. As much as the maritime adventure and the risk exists, the onus of managing this risk, onus of handling this risk is still vested on the hands or on the shoulders of the crew members who are on board the ship. These 24 crew members become very integral to managing the risk of the asset or this adventure as a whole. However, as a mitigation process, as an industry, we keep speaking about a mitigation process, which in our broader term, what we call organizational safety culture. And I think for a longest period, this organizational safety culture is something that has been loosely used or loosely termed across. But in reality, what is organizational safety culture? It is nothing but people into systems. And people become integral in driving this organizational safety culture. And in our industry, we believe that safety culture is defined by people's behavior, and hence there is a lot of talk and a lot of buzz about behavior-based safety. But very fundamental to this very behavior, we need to understand what are those aspects that influence this behavior. What are those aspects that make people do certain actions and decisions and which drive their behaviors to such actions and decisions. And that is what we're going to talk about and expand at large how we are going to go about this, addressing this issue or addressing this risk aspect. Going forward, let me give you a perspective of how a typical risk matrix would percolate from a very, at an identification stage, from a bottom of the pyramid perspective to how it would percolate to an impact point. Most of us, we talk about in this industry, we talk about many a time how accidents happen, what is root cause analysis, how do incidents happen, etc. But least the focus is ever put on the aspect of what is at the bottom of the pyramid, as you can see, which I call the identification zone. In almost every workplace, all behaviors originate at the bottom of this pyramid. Key behavior influences being thoughts, emotions, and feelings. And all of us do have this as much as the crew members on board the ship have. These influences at an organizational level get unnoticed, thereby posing an invisible risk. Multiple such risks do exist on a day-to-day basis, and these percolate into greater risks, which you can see as you can look at the pyramid as they keep going up into the impact stage. And these lead to severe impact both at the individual level as well as the organizational level at large. These influences at the bottom of the pyramid define what is workplace well-being all about. And this bottom of the pyramid depicts the true indicators of employee mental health and well-being. The ramifications of not identifying and addressing these at an early stage and in a continuous manner could be detrimental both for an individual as well as the organization at large. A true workplace well-being approach will help organizations move from a reactive stage to a proactive stage. And in true sense, this approach of moving from reactive to proactive and the proactive approach is what in most of our understanding is what we call the true safety culture. Moving on, can we for a minute pause to understand what these workplace influencers are, to paint a picture, what these thoughts and emotions and feelings would be we need to understand what a typical day of a seafarer is on board a ship, what the seafarer goes through on a daily basis, what exactly is going on in his mind, what are the typical thoughts and emotions and feelings that this individual or individuals or group of individuals go through on a daily basis. And to give you the perspective, if I were to kind of show an image of this, all these are a kind of amalgamation of various thoughts, various feelings and emotions that an individual go through. And what is the challenge behind this is that, challenges such as staying away from home and family for prolonged durations, monotony at work, excruciating work conditions, which involve both physical and mental strain, lack of appropriate channels of communication to share, to voice out concerns and feelings, power distance, trying to meet high expectations of commercial and regulatory pressures, issues of prolonged fatigue, harassment at work, bullying, uncertainty in crew relief, financial burdens, job insecurity, lack of challenge and response mechanisms, to name a few. Unless we understand these, how do we expect to build an engagement as an organization? How do we even understand what exactly is going on a daily basis at the bottom of the pyramid on board these vessels by these crew members? Moving on, while on one side we are talking about what is going on in the asset or on board the ship by the crew members, what is going on as a day-to-day issues and challenges that they go through. Let us also understand on the other side what, as an organization, the implications are if the crew engagement on the other side is not happening. If the crew engagement is not met within the right sense, let us see what an organization typically goes through. To be able to sustain as a brand and stay in business, organizations have to continually stem through these challenges of commercial, operational, safety, regulatory, financial, and insurance aspects. All these challenges, while the organizations try to overcome through establishing systems, processes, but the fundamental challenge still remains: who is going to execute and help them meet these expectations in a continuous manner? The answer to this is the ship's crew again. If the ship's crew is not mentally healthy, if the ship's crew is not given a channel of communication, if the ship's crew's challenges of latent issues, the issues of low fidelity issues that go through on a daily basis are not met with, how do we even fathom or how do we even think of addressing the larger organizational issues through the lens of the crew? The answer to this is we need to bridge this gap between expectation and execution, without which, and without understanding the behavioral risk of these, the approach to safety culture would become a futile attempt. Now, here I would kind of request my co-founder, Kunal Pancholi, to come forward and present his points.
Hi. It's pretty evident that one needs to broaden the horizon and perspective with regards to what truly constitutes workplace well-being and mental health. A solution that captures this essence of our industry will be the way of the future. So let us now also look into where the shift is happening. To start off with, it is not just in our maritime industry, but across board, there have been standalone and isolated systems that are trying to capture all the pain points that we just elaborated in its own way. Right from year-end surveys to orientation sessions, to helplines, training sessions and systems, to email-based redressal processes, to skip-level meetings. All these are good and have served their purpose quite well, but are they enough? And one also needs to consider where exactly as an organization does our responsibility stop and the individual ownership begin. Let's park that aside. The shift needs to happen from these standalone systems to integrated systems of engagement. To further attack the problem at its root, let's look a bit closer into the ingredients from a behavioral psychological point of view. What we are positing here is that when it comes to workplace well-being, one needs to start with and cover three important aspects. The first one being to help empower the individual's relationship with himself or herself. Here too, one needs to understand that this in itself is so dynamic, and unfortunately, We as individuals seldom have the opportunity to work on this. Shouldn't we empower our crew with such tools? Is there a way to cover the key aspects of preventative, supportive, and developmental? Second, is to help manage one's relationship with others at their workplace. Did you know that more than half of well-being or mental health issues crop up because of latent issues amongst teams and the way an individual feels safe, secure, and well adjusted with his or her team, boss, and top management? Shouldn't organizations consider this very aspect in their overall well-being solutioning? Last but not the least, we need to also amplify one's relationship with his or her own skills. Feeling confident, agile, and in full control of one's working knowledge continuously has a huge bearing on the individual's state of mind during work hours. In our industry, are we denying the simple capability of individuals to feel this strength? Are existing systems enough to do this? Or is there a way to truly leverage this aspect of the employee's behavior too? When there is so much at stake, we should certainly widen our gaze and demand solutions that address these. And here is where technology comes to play. But before choosing or jumping into what kind of technology is right, the fundamental prerequisite should be, is it capable of integrating all of the above that we spoke about into the flow of work? By this, we basically mean how it can seamlessly become a part of one's daily and weekly work routine without being an added work item. Let's just call it that it could perhaps be a productive distraction. Then, can it engage the individual in a meaningful manner? Can it do it at the right time and at the right place when it matters the most? And by doing all this, can the technology capture important and relevant data points that works as a decision support mechanism for you and also the individual? Because the simple human nature, as we all know it, is that if it is not measured, it's never going to be treasured. And unless we do this, we will continuously see things moving up from the bottom of the pyramid that Soma showed into the vulnerability stage, and then of course the impact stage. All of us know technological advancements these days have been so rapid and futuristic, wherein while a device can track your pulse, steps at the end of the day, at the other end, it can detect your stress and anxiety levels by just looking into your eyes and so on and so forth. And then there is a lot more out there. And here is where we believe things need to be kept simple, acceptable, yet powerful enough to measure and manage small yet positive behavioral changes. Your people need to realize that such technology or solution is meant for their betterment and not just yours. They need to trust the technology, they need to derive value from it and demonstrate outcomes. And hence, going back to the question I raised earlier, it is not the question of where does the organization's responsibility stop and where does an individual's ownership begin. If you consider your people as important stakeholders, it is in fact an organization's responsibility to enable individual ownership. It can't be two different parts, it has to be a sum of both. To wrap it up, we all want happy and resilient employees. But please do consider that a day in the life of our crew members at workplace is filled with various challenges, emotions, and feelings as brought out by Soma that, for better or for worse, have a huge bearing on your success too. And this is what we mean by empowering the relationship with self, teams, and skills into the flow of work. At the end of the day, we want to see our people not just work well, but reach home safe with a good state of mind. Time to really make that happen with the right technology. In conclusion, to drive a true organizational culture, people become central to it and technology will augment it. Well, thank you very much for sitting through this presentation. Have a great day.